you've heard news about the ceasefire, Iran and Israel. The president putting that out on Truth Social recently. Do you think it'll stick?
Hi, thank you for having me today. Unfortunately, I do not think it will stick. The record for the Iranians speaks against them. They have been known to retaliate every time they've been attacked, most recently with the Israelis, today with the Americans by hitting Al Udeid air base in Qatar. Going back in 2020, they've retaliated against the 2020 assassination of Qasem Soleimani by hitting Al-Assad air base in Iraq. So I don't think they're going to want to de-escalate unless they want to appear having the upper hand.
That's an interesting take. I do that does make sense though, Davey. Go ahead.
If they're, in other words, if they think they are ahead of us or they're stronger and better position than we are, then they would go for a ceasefire. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, they want to appear to their people as, coming ahead with an advantage that they have, their actions have resulted in an end of hostilities rather than being subjugated to agree to a ceasefire in a defeated manner.
This is on point, but it won't sound like it. I've read for a long time that the people in Iran, especially the younger you are, the less you like the leadership there, which they don't care because you don't get a voice. Is that true? And I mean, if you know, and I would think that getting pounded like Iran has would weaken them and maybe make them vulnerable to a revolt by the young folks.
Well, the young folks in Iran have had a history of, raising their voices, but the unfortunate event previously where they have been the most significant was actually during the 1979 Iranian Revolution, which toppled the Shah.
Yeah.
And since then, the only minor movement that, sort of moved the scene was in 2021 when we had the incident with Mahsa Amini, a young girl who was beaten and killed by the Iranian religious police. We haven't seen anything yet since. And I don't think right now, the indicators show that the Iranian people in general and the young folk in particular are eager or ready to, mobilize and start a massive unrest movement or a revolution or possibly take armed struggle against the regime. So far, not just the people, actually the ethnic minorities throughout Iran, which have always been unhappy with the regime, such as the Arabs in Ahwaz, the Baluch, the Kurds, and of course the largest minority being the Azeris to the north.
Do you think that do you think one of the reasons why that Iran wanted this ceasefire is because the words regime change started getting thrown around there?
Definitely. This regime's main priority is survival. It does not live its day-to-day to tend to the needs and concerns for its people. Its constituents mean nothing. This regime wants survival. It has known to implement a grand strategy in the region, which is based on pawns, on dispensable assets that can be, easily eliminated first before the war gets to Iran. And that's a lesson that the Iranians, the Islamic Republic, learned after fighting a brutal war with Saddam Hussein in 1980 till 1988. They've come up with a strategy which is known today as the axis of resistance, where foreign fighters are used to fight Iranian wars. They're used to fight Iran's wars away from Iran's borders, and those who fight are non-Iranian, and those who die as martyrs for their so-called revolution are also non-Iranian.
The name Reza Pahlavi, the crown prince, the exiled crown prince of Iran.
I just saw some.
So if there was a regime change, thank you, Davey. Would he be the first in line to take over, or do you think that they would try to instill some sort of election?
Well, he is certainly very active right now, as he has been in the past. But right now, it's his golden moment. He's been very vocal, been giving press conferences. He's been very active on X. Personally, I don't believe that if the case of the Islamic Republic is gone, where we have a revolution where it's toppled, I see it's very unlikely that the restoration of the imperial Pahlavi dynasty of Iran is restored. I mean, if we go back in history, the last 100 or so years, there's never been a successful restoration of a monarchy anywhere around the world. And we've seen the same incident in Iraq, in Libya, in Syria. Many regimes and governments and republics have been toppled, and we have not seen any restoration of a monarchy. It's important to note that when the 1979 revolution started, it started mainly against the Pahlavi dynasty itself. Then later on, during the later stages of the revolution, Khomeini, the Ayatollah that preceded Khamenei today, he took advantage of that power vacuum and took a leading role, and then fueled the revolution until the Shah was toppled. So I think, relatively speaking, the revolution of 1979 isn't so far, and I don't think the Iranian people would want to get back to a monarchy which was known to live a very lavish lifestyle while Iranians were not living. But I do agree with you. I think that most Iranians would want to have a democratic process, a secular republic, sort of like the Turkish model of the 1920s and 30s, where Ataturk had a leading role in leading a modern state of Turkey in the aftermath of the abolition of the Ottoman Empire.
Hey, Abdullah, we got to get going, but how do we find more of your work?
I can be found on X on A Hayek 99, and I do have publications in the National Interest, the New York Sun, and The Hill.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate your insight here today. Abdullah Hayek is a contributor to Young Voices. He is a Middle East analyst and consultant based in Washington, D.C., joining us on News Talk 710 KURV.